Hey everybody, welcome to the Blue Chip Podcast by fans for fans. This is your host Cody Potter. How y'all doing today? So I want to get into a little Commanders thing. We're almost a week away from this draft. So on the weekend, we have about 10 days, maybe 11, something like that. Anyway, I'm going to get into this draft, man. So I'm going to pull up my big board and things like that. I'm going to kind of get into two players that I really think are the best team schematical fits at two positions that this team needs the most. These aren't necessarily where we're going to go with these picks. So I'm using my big board. I'm not using their big board. We have discussed, the Jeremiah Loves of the world. We've discussed the Caleb Downs of the world. The consensus-based prospects as far as like everybody consensusly has these guys, pretty much rated around the same as far as in the top 10 and things like that. So I'm going to scroll down here to my 15th graded player. Now, just because he's my 15th graded player overall on my big board does not mean he is the 15th graded player on my Commanders board. Because if it was for Commanders based only, this boy would be much higher. So we're going to talk about Omar Cooper Jr. today. That's going to be our first guy. We're going to get right into this. So here's my thing with Omar Cooper Jr., man. This is definitely a guy that I really like. I think this is one of them guys, man, that just he knows what he's doing with that ball in his hands. You need to do everything to get the ball in his hands. I'm just going to play a little bit of a highlight for him for a minute while I discuss this, man. That right there, the routes, catching, hands, physical nature, the toe touch. I mean, everything you're going to see on Omar Cooper Jr.'s highlight reel is everything. I think this guy is the most all-dimensional player in this draft at the wide receiver position, man. He might be a little bit older than Cardinal Tate, might have had a little bit different route than most guys, but if I was the Commanders and I had to pick a wide receiver, if you were just telling me we go into this draft, we could not trade back, I have this guy, at 15th on my overall board. I have him much higher on my Commanders-based board. If it was up to me, yes, people would probably call it a reach, but this is the best player at the wide receiver position that I think this team could get. The yards after the catch, you can call it rack, you can call it yak, you can call it whatever, man. The way that this guy attacks the ball vertically away from his frame, he's got the hands. I think his route running is good enough. I think it can only get better. I mean, this is a Pierre Garçon, Terry McLaurin, Pierre Garçon. I mean, the things that they do, the things that they demonstrated. Coming out of school, these guys were more speed based, developed the physical nature of the game. Well, this guy coming out of college is already the physical nature of the game, man. This was the difference maker for me for the Indiana Hoosiers, man. This was the guy that I think put him over the top for their national title run. I mean, they were. Everybody knows Elijah Surratt, and for all the things that he does, if you're talking comps, I'm talking that Keenan Allen type, that I'm going to route you up, route in, play out, setups, and things like that. This was the guy that had the explosive element for this team. Yes, their other wide receiver, had the deep ball ability to take the top off of the defenses. He'll be coming out next year. He's not eligible. All three of these receivers are going to be really good players in the National Football League. Next year, they're going to have probably a first-round wide receiver, the one that I'm talking about, outside of Omar Cooper Jr. Elijah Surratt probably goes in the third round in this draft. That's a good round for him. But Omar Cooper Jr. for the Washington Commanders, this is a guy that I would keep my eyes on. If you had to pick a wide receiver, if that is the route that you want to go for this team, Omar Cooper Jr., if it was up to me, if you asked me what I think Adam Peters, Dan Quinn, and that team would very much value the most out of this class, I think it would be Omar Cooper Jr. Now, do I think that would stop them from taking Cardinal Tate? No, I can see the dimensions of Cardinal Tate's game, the age and everything like that, and all the upside. I think Omar Cooper Jr. is the guy in this class. I think he is the best all-around wide receiver, blocking, catching, physical nature, run after the catch. He gives you the attitude and everything that you want from the wide receiver position. Schematically, this is the type of guy that you want, especially if you're going to get to a more run-heavy team and things like that, man. This is the guy for me. When I'm looking around for this team, I'm thinking about all the things that this team does. man, this Omar Cooper Jr. would be the guy for me. If I had to pick a wide receiver round one, I've said it multiple times, man. I think this guy is the most all around. I like Mekhi Lemon and things like that. I know the physical nature. I think this guy gives you the physical nature of Mekhi Lemon, but with the explosive element that you would want to select, in the first round if you had to pick a wide receiver. I have Omar Cooper and Mekhi Lemon graded right there with each other. It's the explosive element that gives it away for me. It's the translatable skill set. I think, I know Omar Cooper can play inside and out. I don't think Mekhi Lemon can play outside. I think he's going to line up outside in different packages and things like that, but I don't think he's going to be as effective as Omar Cooper Jr. can be outside. Denzel Boston is right there too because of the physical nature of what he does and the route running skill set that he has for his size. But again, if I had to take a wide receiver, because wide receiver is a position that if you're looking at this team, and it is something that is really, really lacking outside of Terry McLaurin. We saw last year going into the season, outside of Terry McLaurin, once Terry McLaurin got hurt, we had nothing. And Omar Cooper Jr. is somebody that gives you that Deebo Samuel element to his game. He has that element in his back pocket, but he can also extend it downfield. He can find holes in the zone. He can win with more than just finding holes in the zone. He can win beyond just the short game and the creating after the catch on the short game. So again, man, if I had to take a wide receiver, if there was a wide receiver that I had to take for the Washington Commanders, Omar Cooper Jr. would be the pick for me. So we're going to come down here, and that's probably more of a trade back option and things like that. As far as what I'm seeing, for here, I think the Washington Commanders are probably looking to do that route. If they couldn't, would I still be surprised if they took Omar Cooper Jr. in this draft? No, I wouldn't. I think he does. I think his grade, at least from everything that I've scouted, everything that I've seen, when I watch this guy collectively through his time in college football, Omar Cooper Jr. is very, very much worth that pick. Is he going to be considered a value pick? At the time, no, you probably, oh my God, blah, blah, blah. You would hear all the reports, you'd hear all the things. But if that guy gets taken, I'm telling you, he is a perfect fit for what this team does. People want to talk about the Amon-Ra St. Brown comps and things like that. I mean, he has more of the physical nature to his game. Mekhi Lemon has the physical nature when he leaves his feet to go get the football and things like that. Omar Cooper Jr. does it with the ball in hand, everything like that. And he's faster and he's more explosive and he's more dynamic with the ball in his hand. Again, when I'm talking about scheme fit, everybody has their own grade. Every team has their own grade and stylistically of things that they're looking for. When I think about this coaching staff, when I think about what this team needs from that position and what they would be looking for long term, Omar Cooper Jr. to me. So that's a name to keep your eye. Everybody knows the name. I'm not telling you to keep your eye out for him for his name. The namesake, like he hasn't been talked about or discussed. Trust me, he's considered a riser by many people for a reason. I don't have this guy as a riser. I have this guy as that type of impact player in this draft. So to my next scheme fit, and this is basically going off of a report that says in the top 100 that the Washington Commanders would like to address these two positions, the wide receiver position and the cornerback position, and I could very, very much see that. So Brandon Cisse, I think this guy very much fits the bill for what this defense. This is not that I could get into Jermon McCoy. I love Jermon McCoy's tape. Like I said, the 2024 tape is every bit as good as any player in this class. It is even better than any player that is coming out that played football last year. He did not play football last year because of the ACL. And for the sake of this episode, I'm going with Brandon Cisse because of what I had seen from him in college football last year. This guy was healthy last year. He plays. He has a little tendency to grab, but he's not super grabby. He covers very, very well. He covers very, very well. This is the best tackler in the draft from the cornerback position all around. And that is something that I very, 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 very much value. And then is the man concepts. We've seen him in pure man on receivers. He can jam them. He has good arm length. He tackles. He's physical. He's everything you want. Like I said, he's going to have to clean up the grabs. So every man cornerback, no matter how much tape you watch from him. I don't care if it's Patrick Peterson. I don't care if it's Christian Gonzalez. I don't care what cornerback, man. Trust me, and I've had blue chip grades on both of those corners. Every cornerback, if they play a man-dominant scheme or they are man-heavy or that is their skill set, they are going to, at some point in some game, at some point in their college career, they're going to have grabby tape. It's just the nature of the beast. Zone cornerbacks, they play a little bit more forgiving. Maybe they're not the athlete, the same type of athlete and things like that. Anyway, when I'm talking about wide cornerback position for the Washington Commanders, the best schematical fit in this draft on tape, that gives you everything that you're looking for. That's going to be, maybe in the range of, if you were to trade back for an Omar Cooper Jr., move back into the teens, maybe 13, 14, 15, maybe the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you pick up a second round pick. I think Brandon Cisse could be a guy that could be available to you in the second round. Maybe, he probably goes first. I've mocked him to the Seattle Seahawks in the first round and things like that because of the way that he plays. But I'm telling you, when I think about a cornerback that fits the Durante Jones defense, everybody talks about Durante Jones and they talk about cornerback being devalued. And I think when they're thinking about that, they're thinking very, very much about the Brian Flores defense. But when I think about Durante Jones, and I think about his stops, whether it be lower level colleges, upper level colleges, whether it was his time at LSU. Well, Derek Stingley Jr. was not a lower level cornerback at LSU, and I'm sure that Stingley did not go to LSU just solely because of Durante Jones. But what I am saying is his time with Derek Stingley, his time in lower level colleges, whether it was HBCUs, whether it was high school football and things like that. I know kids that came out of those high school programs where he was at, and lower level college programs. Physical, true man corners were very, very high on Durante Jones's, on his priority list, and then guys improved. He's a D-back coach. They were very, very refined, very, very well taught. When I think about a guy who can do all these things, can give you the zone match look, plays very, very good man, gives you all the physical natures and skill sets that you're looking for from the cornerback position, with really, really good feet, really, really good hips, and the physical nature that he demanded. When I look at him solely as a defensive coordinator for his stops, I can't go off of what I saw with Durante Jones from, being in Brian Flores' defensive scheme. I have to go off of what I've seen from Durante Jones at his stops in his college schemes and things like that when I'm thinking about the nature of the beast. And when I'm thinking about it, I know Trey Amos can match up man. I know that Brandon Cisse can match up man. Putting Mikey Samerstill in the slot and marrying him to the slot, this would be a selection that allows you to do that. And then it allows Mikey Samerstill to work full-time at the nickel position, at the nickel cornerback position. It allows him to have the flexibility to play like he played in Michigan. Whether they want to play Mikey Samerstill outside, maybe they've made their mind up that that's what they want to do and they go a different direction. If you were telling me that was the direction that they were going to go, I would completely understand it. And if that was the direction they were going to go, there's probably another corner that I would have on my list. If I was going to go that direction, this would be Brandon Cisse playing outside. If there was one other cornerback in this class that I would go with for this team, and I really wasn't planning on going here, but because I brought up the Mikey Samerstill thing, this is very, very much the direction that I believe that this team would go. And he should be very, very close to him on the list. And I think, again, this is more in a trade down scenario. This isn't waiting for pick 71, to get here. I'm going to get back to my big board in a second, and I'm going to, kind of highlight the name for you. But when I'm thinking about the cornerback position, let me pull it up here. Interact. Let me move the board. Let's move down. Brandon Cisse. Let's close that name out. All right. So as I said, as I'm going down this list, it should not be very far from where I'm going right here. And it's not. Chandler Rivers, 5'10", 185 pounds. Now this would be another smaller cornerback. Again, the reason that I went with Brandon Cisse was more outside, giving you more at the height, 6 foot, 195 pounds. It's the physical nature of the tape. This is another guy that could also play inside, could play outside, things like that. Does all the things that you want to see. Chandler Rivers, man, this is a guy that is very, very instinctual, very, very good. I think it gives you two smaller corners. I don't know if you necessarily want to go that route. I know Trey Amos has plenty of size, but Chandler Rivers is one of the cleanest college football cornerbacks that you're ever going to watch on tape. If you're talking about a guy that was 6 foot, this guy be a first round lock. I mean, the feet, the hips, the physical nature of the physical ability, and again, tackling. I mean, just tackling. This guy's a short tackler from the cornerback position. If you told me that there were 2 cornerbacks in this draft that would really, really have to come, if I had to pick cornerback in this draft, the 2 cornerbacks that I would take for this team, because of everything that I've watched from Durante Jones, these would be the 2. If they wanted to play Mikey Sanders still outside and they wanted to draft a player to play inside, this is a guy that could definitely do it. Or you can mix and match Mikey Sanders still and mix and match him with Chandler Rivers. You can figure out which guy you want to match up stylistically each week. Again, the key narrative to both of the guys that I brought up with Brandon Cisse and Chandler Rivers: football IQ, hips, feet, eyes, hands, and key one, tackling. Tackling is very, very important to me from the cornerback position. If I am scouting a cornerback, you have to be able to tackle. Could Keontae Scott be a guy that's on this list? We've definitely visited with Keontae Scott. I love Keontae Scott from the nickel. A little bit bigger player, super fast, and he tackles again. So again, like realistically, between those 3 names, if I'm thinking stylistically for what I've seen from Durante Jones from the cornerback position, these would be the 3 guys that would very, very highly be on our list. They would be the guys. They are the best tacklers. They're the most physical, and just the cleanest. I mean, clean. I'm talking clean, super clean feet. Like, that is the one thing I give Mansour Delane. Mansour Delane has very, very clean feet, very, very good technique. These guys' eyes are on a completely different level from Mansour Delane. As much as I love Mansour Delane and his tape, and as much as he improved over, from his time at Virginia Tech to his time coming here, Mansour Delane and his eyes, that would be the one thing that I think he gets beat on sometimes, is sometimes he gets caught peeking, where Chandler Rivers and Brandon Cisse, when I think about where their eyes are at all times when they're watching the wide receivers and they're in and out of their breaks and they're working their hips and they're shadowing these guys down the field, they're very, very, very good man corners. They can play the zone match scheme. And again, the tackling, the hands, the eyes, the feet, everything that you're going to get from that position. So again, man, when I'm thinking about this draft, when I'm thinking about cornerback and I'm thinking about wide receiver for the Commanders, these are the 3 guys. These are the guys that I would very, very much expect, to be higher on our board maybe than other team boards. Knowing Dan Quinn, having a good feel for what David Blau is going to be bringing to this team stylistically on offense, knowing that we need to improve the wide receiver position. Could they want to go with size? If they wanted to go with size, again, Denzel Boston would probably be the dude. But again, that's probably going to be more of a trade down scenario. But if you're talking to me and if I'm thinking about how Adam Peters grades these prospects and things like that, I would have I would think Omar Cooper Jr. is a little bit more. We talk about that commander's key. We kind of make fun of it, as far as fans and things like that. Well, this is a commander. This is a commander. Well, if you told me that we came 2 weeks from now in the draft, Friday, Thursday night, pick number 7, we can't trade down. And if you told me that we took Omar Cooper Jr., well, I can tell you the first thing that Adam Peters is going to talk about at the end of the night. We had that commander's tag on this guy, man. This is a guy, man, the way that he blocks, the way that his explosive ability and things like that. Well, if you're telling me that we took a cornerback in round 2, if we were to trade back and get an Omar Cooper Jr., whoever we got, and we had to pick a cornerback, those 3 guys, Keontae Scott, Chandler Rivers, and, Brandon Cisse, those would be the players that, to me, would be the ones that would have the commander's grade for what we are looking for stylistically, for what we don't have on this roster. And if we had to pick these 2 positions, and they're 2 positions that I very, very much expect us to address early in this draft, these are the players that I would very, very, very much keep in play for this team, man. So it's, again, last year, I like friends, my dad, everybody the day of the draft, man, somebody asked me, they were like, who are we going to pick? Well, I gave them a list of 5 names. The 5 names that I thought were going to be the players that we were drafting between at pick 29. The players that I gave them were Josh Conerly Jr., Trey Amos. I had Emeka Obuka on there, and then I had 2 other players that went around where we picked. I was pretty dialed in last year with where we were going to be, man. I really, really had a good feel. I thought offensive line was a real option for this team. Funny thing is it was between Trey Amos and Josh Conerly Jr., and then I had Emeka Obuka, but I didn't really feel Emeka Obuka was going to fall, so I kind of had him as my 3rd that I named. Josh Conerly Jr. and Trey Amos were the 2 that I really, really believed the pick was going to be between. I didn't know if Josh Conerly Jr. was going to be there with that skill set. So again, when I'm looking at what we do, what we're looking for, the type of traits, the type of skill sets, and all the type of, schematical things that we do here, Again, you can say I'm reaching, you can say whatever, but if you ask me to tell you, the name that, at these positions that we're going to pick, I've already told you Jeremiah Love. I've told you about Daniel Thiemann being a guy that I think you'd really really have to keep an eye out for because of the way that he plays the free safety position. His time at Purdue, his time at Oregon, the tape is very very clean, man. He's in my top 12 for a reason. Omar Cooper Jr. is a guy for the Commanders I got very very high. I have him 15 in my overall board. I have him much higher for the Commanders. Daniel Thiemann, I have him much higher for the Commanders. Realistically, when I'm thinking about this and when I'm grading for the Commanders, I'm also taking into account the 6 picks that are going to go before us, the players that I do not think are going to be there. They are, of course, on my draft board, but I have them a little bit lower because, again, availability for the pick matters for this exercise, man. When I'm thinking about players that will realistically be available to us, Arvell Reese is not going to be on my list. David Bailey is not going to be on my list. So, of course, he is on my draftable board for this team. He is a schematical fit for what this team wants to do. Maybe Ruben Bain isn't the schematical fit, but for me, I like this skill set. So, of course, I'm going to keep him on my draft board, but, of course, he's going to be lower. So, every mock that I've done where I didn't pick Ruben Bain Jr., where he was available to us, and I took Caleb Downs, there's a reason why I did that. It's because I had Caleb Downs higher for this team because of the more schematical fit, more of what I think that the Commanders would do, more of what I think would actually be logically available to us, and the way that Adam Peters drafts for this team and the way that things that he looks for, the skill sets. Again, I think Omar Cooper Jr. is a lot higher on the Washington Commanders draft board than maybe, a lot of, when Daniel Jeremiah makes his mock draft right before the draft. If you told me that he put Omar Cooper Jr. there for the Washington Commanders, I would not be surprised. And again, it would be him thinking about things that he's heard. He's not going to hear anything out of this building, but he knows Adam Peters. He knows what the skill sets that Adam Peters looks for. If you told me that Omar Cooper Jr. was the name on the Washington Commanders at pick number 7 for Daniel Jeremiah's big board without a trade, that would not surprise me. And honestly, I've listened to Daniel Jeremiah for years. Omar Cooper Jr. is probably one of his favorite players in this draft. If he hasn't already said it, trust me, when he comes and puts out his mock draft and he puts Omar Cooper Jr. in that position, he explains to it that this is one of his favorite players. There's a reason why, man. This dude is just a pure class football player. That attitude, the explosive ability, everything you're going to get. There are no questions with him. This guy is going to be a really, really good football player in the NFL. Does he have the ceiling of Jordan Tyson with all the route running and things like that? Maybe not, but I also don't think he has anywhere near the floor. And I know Adam Peters, man, he values that floor and he values that ceiling. He would rather take maybe a little bit lower ceiling on a player than, who has a very, very high floor, who's going to come in and just has the skill set to contribute right away. We saw what Josh Connerly did in his development last year as a younger prospect. And he went through the gauntlet, man, but he definitely showed he belongs in this league. You saw the athletic traits. You knew that he needed to work on his strength. Well, if you're asking me one thing that Omar Cooper Jr. needs to improve at the wide receiver position, it's the route running. When he gets that route running ability taken care of, because he can get off jams. He is physical enough to get off jams on the line of scrimmage, and he knows how to do it, man. He's done it outside. He's done it inside. So again, man, Omar Cooper Jr. is a guy that I would very, very much keep my eye out for the Washington Commanders when it comes Thursday for the NFL draft on the 23rd. So again, this is just how I feel. You can like it, you can comment, you can tell me how you feel about it, man, but I'm just telling you from everything that I've ever watched from the San Francisco 49ers back in the day, picking the Eric Deckers of the world, when back in Denver and things like that, when I think about players that, were picked in New England, trust me, man, there's a reason why I have Omar Cooper Jr. a lot higher on my board, plus just what I think about him personally and the skill set that I see from him being a complete wide receiver coming out in the NFL draft, man. This is a guy that I very, very much value. This is a guy that I would not be surprised to see the Commanders pick. You guys could think otherwise. You can call me crazy. We're going to see on draft day, man, realistically, man, whether they pick him or not. I mean, I think he's very, very high on this team's draft board. We're never going to see it. We're never going to know, but I would not be surprised. So, again, this is Cody from the Blue Chip Podcast, man. I just wanted to put out this episode because we've talked about, a lot of the consensus players and things like that, but now I'm giving you the players that I really, really think are going to be on the Commanders board, and they're going to be very, very highly. And I think there are real possibilities for this team in the first round, second round, if we were to trade back and things like that, because I think that's something that Adam Peters would really, really love to do. So again, maybe it's not pick 7, but when it comes down to it, man, I think Omar Cooper is going to be one of the players that they're really, really picking between when it comes, Thursday night. So again, man, thank you guys from, the Blue Chip Podcast, man. I really, really appreciate doing this to you. I hope you guys have a blessed, safe week. And like I said, 10, 11 days from the draft, man. We're counting it on down, man. This Thursday will be a week away from the draft, man. I'm going to be giving you guys a lot of content. I got one more mock draft for you guys for the first round, things like that. I'm already scouting 2027. That's what I do once the Senior Bowl is over, man. I go back and I rewatch the season. I take notes and I do a lot of things. Rewatch the games and I start, and sometimes I find things that I missed, from players and things like that. It doesn't necessarily adjust my board, but it might be like, oh damn, I was watching this player and then this player showed back up and it was something I hadn't seen from that player. Sometimes when you're looking for something else, you see something else that you're looking for. So again, Omar Cooper Jr. would be one of the guys for me, man. And I just appreciate you guys checking out the Blue Chip Podcast. Like, comment, subscribe, and do all those things. Like I said, I appreciate you guys and have a safe, blessed week. Peace.